In this live stream, I'm going to be talking about creating icons with Keynote for Stream Deck and Loop Deck. It's something I've talked about at various different points on my channel before, but never in, I don't think, a sort of dedicated video. So rather than having to dig through other videos to find it, this is where you can just find out how to do that. So I do create all of my own icons for my Stream Deck pretty much, and Loop Deck. I have got some icons available on my website as well, so takeonetech.io/store. I'll take a look at those a little bit later. But I do like to have all of the icons on my Stream Deck have a consistent sort of look and feel to them. So for example, my Ecamm Live setup that I'm using right now is looking something like this. So they have just all got a sort of consistent look and feel to them. I've got plenty of others as well for all the other different things that I use it for. So for example, my OmniFocus all got a sort of consistent look and feel to them. Obviously my Zoom icons as well. That's actually a secondary profile. There we go. That's the one. So I created all of my my icons for all of these different applications in Keynote, and it's a really easy way to do it. Personally, I mean, I do use Adobe Illustrator and applications like that, Illustrator, Photoshop, and so on. But I have just found Keynote is a really quick and easy way to throw these things together. When I'm just, need to create a quick icon. And you can obviously spend a lot more time laboring over them and getting them precise. But if I just want a quick icon for something, then this is the easiest way that I've found to do it. And since Keynote is a free application on the Mac, then, and I guess that most of my channel subscribers are Mac users, then this seems like a good way to show you how to do it as well. So I'll just come over into Keynote. And here is Keynote, just loaded up a sort of initial blank file. And it will come in this sort of 16:9 aspect ratio. Let me just change the background color so that we can see what we're looking at here. If I change that to white or maybe a different color so that the text stands out. There we go. So that is the sort of standard aspect ratio that you'll get of a new slide layout in Keynote. If you come over to the document settings here, you can see that we've got different slide sizes. So you can have 16:9 or 4:3. So those are two sort of standard slide sizes. But some people don't realize you can actually just create any size that you want. Hey, Paul, great to see you. And so you can create any size that you want from here. So just go to custom slide size. And basically, as I say, you can just type in any particular slide size that you want. Now, the actual icon size on a Stream Deck, I believe, is around 72 pixels by 72, something like that. But I always just go for, future-proofing and making these things larger than they actually need to be. So maybe we can use 500 by 500, 400 by 400, whatever you want. And it's basically all we're doing is creating a square slide. So now we've got ourselves a square slide. I'm not going to go into the sort of all of the functionality of Keynote and how to do absolutely everything. I've got plenty of other videos on my channel that cover that, but I'm just going to go through the process here. Now, in terms of sort of creating the icon, each one is going to be a slide in effect. So we're going to be talking about them in terms of slides, but each one of the slides will represent an icon. And then we'll come on to a little bit later how we can export them and just export them as a sort of bunch of slides that will export individually as individual images ready to use as your icons. So what we could do is if you're going to have different colored icons. So for example, if I just come over to my Stream Deck, in fact, I can probably show you on the Stream Deck app over here. You'll notice here that I've got, whoops, mouse is on top of a cable. You'll notice here that I've got some icons, and these ones here are basically all of my different scenes in Ecamm Live. And the active scene is being shown with a sort of yellow background as opposed to a dark background. So that just lets me know which particular scene I'm on. So if I click to a different scene on here, you'll notice that as I click to it, it changes color to be the active scene and then switches back again. So the way that I've done that is basically in this particular icon, you have the option of choosing two different colors to it depending on the state. This is something specific to Ecamm Live's scenes, but you also have that if you're using any of the actions in Stream Deck, which are toggles. So basically like this, a hotkey switch, which switches from one thing to another, or a multi-action switch. That's where the actual icon itself has two different states depending on what state the action is in. So you may want to have multiple different colored backgrounds in your icon template, in which case what we can do here is I just change the color of this particular slide. However, we might want to just go and actually create our own set of particular sort of template backgrounds with different colors. And so to do that, if I just come into the format up at the top here, this is where you can change the color of the slide background and things like that. But it's a pretty harsh color. But what you can actually do is if you come into here and say edit slide template, then this is where you've got lots of different templates for slides with, different bullet points and titles and things like that. Obviously, for what we're doing, we don't actually necessarily want all of that sort of stuff. So what I would suggest is that we just come in, delete all of these. I'll just delete them all. And then I'll delete the text from here as well, because we basically just want a blank canvas. So this could be, let's say we want one with a blue background. And then we're going to come and change the color of the background here to blue. Say that's going to be one of them. And then we could add another one. So if we just duplicate that and then just change this to, I don't know, let's say red, something like that. So now we've got two different colored backgrounds for our icons. You can obviously add in a lot of different colors. If you've got your own preference in terms of the different colored background you want to use, you can create as many of these as you want. Name them accordingly. Once you've done that, just click on the done. And so now when we want to add a new icon, if you click on the add slide up here, then you'll see you've got those two different choices. Let me just get rid of that first one. So you could just keep adding in new icons with these different colored backgrounds. And then if you want a red one, come and do it like that. So that's how we're basically creating this sort of base, if you like, for the icon. Now you have got all of these different shapes and things like that that you can use as just built into Keynote. So there are a number of different icons that you may be able to actually use for your for the thing that you're looking for. So if we come down here, we've got some basic shapes, but as we just scroll down this list, there's lots of other different images, icons that actually may suit the job that you want to do. So you can have a look through here and see if any of these are suitable. Obviously lots of animals here, not quite sure how those would fit into Stream Deck, but as we go further down, there's some of them that may be relevant. Otherwise, it's a case of using the different geometry and shapes, and here we can sort of build things up. So we can add in different shapes in Keynote. If I just change this color, say to white, so it stands out a little bit more. If you are trying to create a drawing or a shape or something like that, you can build things up with the different shapes you've got here. But then once you have got, you've built up the shape that you want, you can actually just click on the two of these, click on arrange, and then, one second, not this one, hang on, format. It's shapes and lines, and then you can do unite shapes. So that's basically now joined that together and created your own shape. I mean, that's a pretty silly shape that I've just created there. But once you've done that, that just behaves as a single object then, rather than two separate shapes. You can also do things like this. If I take another shape, let's say we want to have this triangle, and we want to remove that from this shape that's underneath. If I click on the two of these, then format shapes and lines, and then you can use this one, subtract shapes, and it will subtract the topmost shape or shapes from the bottom one. So if I do that, now you can see we've got this little cutout there, and there are a couple of other ones in there. I'll just touch on those as we're here. This is a pretty stupid icon that I've created, obviously, but it's just the process. I'll show you some other ones in a moment. Shapes and lines, so as well as, if I just highlight both of those, as well as the sort of combined shapes, which is unite, and we've done subtract shapes. So you can also do intersect shapes, and that's basically going to leave you with wherever there is an overlap between the two shapes. So if you look at the pentagon that we've got down there, and then we've got that big shape underneath, it would actually cut away most of the shape that we've just created. But if I do intersect, you can see how it's just left us with that little bit. So using these tools, though, you can basically create any possible shape that you might want. So arrange, let's have another look at these ones. I need to select those two. Format, shapes and lines. The last one is exclude shapes, and that's basically going to leave you with only the bit where they don't overlap. So you'll see what happens if I click that. It's basically removed the bit where they are overlapping. So from this, you can basically create any number of shapes. So again, I haven't really done anything particularly interesting in terms of a design there. Let me just come and show you, though, the icons that I've got over here. So here I've done a combination of things. These are all my Ecamm Live icons, by the way. They're a little bit small on the screen. Let me just zoom in as I scroll down here. So some of these have been made with images that are part of the icon set that you've got in Keynote, but then I've just modified them. So for example, this clock one here, that's the one I use for my timestamps on my on Ecamm Live for timestamping my videos. And that is just the clock that is there in the shapes. So if I come in here and search for clock like this, you'll see that that is just that clock there. So I literally just use that particular clock. I change some of the colors and the color backgrounds and things like that. You can easily change colors of objects. And by the way, I should have mentioned this one here. Once you have created a shape, so if I have a shape that is a square and you can see it's blue, if I have another shape that is a circle, and let's make that one red. In fact, let's make it green so it stands out more. These two shapes, as soon as I actually join them, they will become one. So they would become the color of just one of those shapes. And I think it's usually the bottom one. So unite. Yes, it becomes the color of the bottommost shape. So that now you can do all the sorts of things you could do before. So you can add a border. You can change the color of it. You can change the color of the border as well. And all those sorts of things. So once you've actually created your shape, then you can change all the elements of it. So that's what I've done here. I've changed the color of the actual clock itself. And in fact, here I've just cheated and put a white circle because it's actually got transparency in the clock face. So I've just put a white circle behind it to have this sort of white icons behind. This one is a little play button, so this is just literally a circle with a border and then a triangle, so it's pretty easy to make these sorts of things. One thing to note though is when you're making these icons, one of the ways that you can get them to look sort of consistent and all looking the same is having some form of framework to work with when you are actually creating them, in terms of like having the same sort of style. So you'll notice that these icons here, for example, I've got these different ones that have the same proportions and the things like that. It's just that the text on them is a little bit different. Again, these ones here are very sort of similar to each other. If you've got two-tone icons, then having them look the same so that when it switches from one to the other, then it just literally appears like a color change rather than a change of an image. But also all of the elements in here are the same sort of proportions from one to another. So for example, anywhere where I've got a circle in here, it's this same diameter circle. Anything where I've got these sort of square boxes. So these are all my ones for overlays, by the way. So in Ecamm Live, I've got I have a particular format for all of my icons, which are for overlays, and that is that they follow this particular look where you've basically got a where has it gone now? Just lost them off the screen. There we go. So this is the sort of format that I've got of an overlay where it looks like a layer behind and a layer in the front. And so it's just a way of basically having the same notation, if you like, or that's not the right word, the same look to your icons so that you actually know what they are and what kind of icons they are. So this one is, I know, related to overlays in Ecamm. This one is to put up the last comment. And then I've got a similar one here, which is, you'll guess, is to remove the last comment. So having the same sort of look and feel to your icons is something that is important from a design point of view. If you are going to be creating icons to sell, for example, you could be doing that, which I do. I'll mention it again. You can find my icons on my store, takeonetech.io/store. And but having them all consistent so that they have that sort of general look and feel is an important thing. And one of the tools to help get that right is something that is, let's say, a little gift from Apple. Because they created, when they updated their iOS, they went from the sort of skeuomorphic design where everything looked like, you know, a leather-bound notepad, a, you know, little playhead on a recorder or whatever it happened to be. They went from making their icons look like real world devices and things like that. They went to the sort of much more sort of cleaner icon design, and they unified all of their icons using a template. So they had an icon design template. I've left that in the description, by the way, so you can download it. But if I just come up to the top where I've got one over here, these are some Discord icons that I still haven't finished working on yet. But this basically is the template. And in fact, let me just get rid of that background, and I'll change the background to be white so it is a little bit easier to see this. But this here is the Apple iOS icon design template. And so all of the Apple icons, they when they redesigned them, they had them fit within this. So all of the sort of circular elements are usually either this outer circle, or some of the smaller circular elements in the middle will fit in there. It might be that the elements are not actually themselves circular, but still fitting within the bounds of these sort of guidelines here. Then you've got the rounded edges of an iOS icon, so they've limited the sort of space that you can go up to the edge. So that's where this radius has come from the outside, but that gives you this sort of outer edge on the maximum diameter of the circle, so that it doesn't encroach over that edge. This works quite nicely, though, I found, with the Stream Deck, because of the the rounded corners that you've got on there. And so I've just totally lifted this from the iOS design ecosystem to just apply to when I'm doing my icons in Stream Deck. So using this as basically the underlying sort of size of all of my icons has been the way that I've gone forward. So let me just have a look at some of these. These are all of my one's for YouTube, so you'll see there that we've got these elements, and this circle matches up with the outer circle. This circle in the middle, this semicircle for the little. This is for the playback speed. And this one, this one is the sort of inner circle of that template. So there's really. Really, it's a really easy way to actually create things that look good and have the same proportions. And if you can get everything all consistent in terms of proportions, it goes a long way to making the whole thing look sort of cohesive, really. Just catching up with hello Keely. Catching up on double speed. It's always amazing, that, isn't it? Double speed, amazing. It's not amazing, but it's funny that I do that with sometimes I'm a bit late to docs as well, and catch up on double speed. Speak of the devil, 2 times pumpkin. Let me have a little look. Okay, so Keely's all caught up. Good, right. I'll have to actually speak double speed now, so that it doesn't sound like there's any difference. Yeah, this is the way that I create my my icon packs. A couple of other things to note with Keynote. The default is that it's, let me have a little look here. The default is that you'll have this view down this side showing all of your slides, or in this case, icons. But there's also this one here, which is the element inspector. And to get that, just click on the view menu, and then you'll see here, edit. Hang on a sec. It's this. It's not element inspector. It's called the object list. So the default is it will be like that. But if you show the object list, then you'll be able to see all of the different elements that you've got, and sort of adjust those, or if you need to move them around in terms of the layers. So just like in layers in Photoshop, just like overlays in Ecamm, for example, then the thing that is topmost will be topmost in whatever you are doing, and will be at the top of the image. Just coming down here a little bit more, let's have a look at some more of these. These are all the Zoom ones. I should say, once again, these, if you don't want to go through the hassle of making these for yourself, they are available on my website, takeonetech.io/store. So these are the different icon packs I've got there. I've got my Zoom icon packs. Incidentally, with the Zoom icon pack, it does come ready programmed with all of the shortcuts for Zoom as well. So Zoom, there's a third-party developer who's created a set of custom icons for Zoom with some of the basic functionality, but you can actually create a shortcut to control Zoom in the background with for any of the things that you can do in Zoom with keyboard shortcuts. In fact, let me just show you. Let's have a little look at this, because this is it's quite interesting that you can do this. If I come over to Zoom here, this is my Zoom icon pack. If you look in the Zoom plugin for Stream Deck, which isn't actually made by Zoom, it's made by somebody else, but you have got these you have got these different. So I'm just laughing at Doc's comment. You do have these different ones for toggling mute, video toggle, share toggle, focus, all these sorts of things. Leave meeting. So there's basically, what is it, like 10 different functions that you can do in Zoom. But you also have this one here, custom shortcut. The way that this works is, and I've got the icons for the 10 built-in ones, although they've got their own icons there. But you've also got this create custom shortcut. And what that is it basically allows you to add in the keyboard shortcut that you would use in Zoom, so that when you press the button on the Stream Deck, it will activate that keyboard shortcut in Zoom, even if it isn't the most frontmost application. So you can obviously in Stream Deck, you can activate keyboard shortcuts in any case, but in this case you want it to activate the keyboard shortcut in the background if Zoom isn't the frontmost application, and this allows you to do it. However, there is a bit of a thing with this, where to actually type in the keyboard shortcut, you need to physically type it out. So whereas with the built-in one on Stream Deck, which is, where is it? It is keyboard shortcut. Hang on a minute. Hotkey, that's the one. If you've got a hotkey action, you basically just type the hotkey, you know, like press Command X, Command V, whatever it happens to be, and it'll put it in. Whereas this, you literally have to type it out in this notation. So you type out the full thing as in this case, Shift plus Command plus T, and that is the shortcut for that particular thing. So what I've done is for the icon pack for Zoom, I've actually gone through and done all of this and put in all of these shortcuts already. So that if I come back to this view here, so that actually you can just install the Zoom profile, and it will show you it'll have that already done, I should say. I've got my Ecamm Live icon pack there. That is all the ones that I've just been looking at there or showing you there. Those are just the icons that I use. If, by the way, anybody has downloaded these packs and there's any that you think could be added, certainly for the Ecamm Live, there's so many different use cases for Ecamm. There may be other icons. I'm always happy to look to expand them and build them out a little bit further. I've got one for YouTube Player. The reason I created this was there's lots of keyboard shortcuts for YouTube, for, you know, when you are actually playing the playing videos in YouTube, so you can control YouTube with keyboard shortcuts. But again, it needs to have the browser window as the frontmost application. So what I did with this was I used Keyboard Maestro to basically send the keystrokes to an application that's in the background. And what that means is I study at the University of YouTube myself, so I'm often watching a video on YouTube and actually trying to do the thing that it's teaching me as I'm watching. And so if I have to pause the video, I have to click out of my application into the browser, click pause, come back to the other application, and so on. So what I wanted was a way to just basically control YouTube, even if it's just playing in the background, or sometimes I'm just listening in the background while I'm doing some other work or whatever it happens to be. So I created a Keyboard Maestro macro for all of these shortcuts that basically sends the shortcut to Safari, or you could change it to Chrome, whichever browser you watch it in. So that means that even if I'm doing something in another application, I can still control YouTube from this. So again, I've included the Keyboard Maestro macro, so you can download that into Keyboard Maestro, and then this includes the profile already set up with the link through to Keyboard Maestro to control YouTube in the background. Keynote, as we're just looking at, I use Keynote quite a lot. So there are commands in here, and I talked about, you know, joining shapes together and things like that. So I created all of the shortcuts in there as well. So that, you know, all the different things like joining shapes together, grouping shapes, aligning shapes, all that sort of stuff. I can just do that with a touch of a button. So if I'm using Keynote, then I have a profile for that. And again, that's just all been pre-created. And then I've got a couple of others here. So there is a larger icon pack that is 3,000 icons. Now, I do explicitly say it's 3,000 icons made up of 150 pictograms in 20 different colored backgrounds. So it's basically 150 different icons with, as I say, 20 different colors. So that's where the 3,000 comes up to. And then the calculator is just basically to be able to control the calculator that you've got on your map. So there is a button to open up the calculator, and then these basically just send keystrokes. So it's not calculating anything on the Stream Deck in that sense. It is just literally a big clunky button to control your built-in calculator that you have on the Mac. So that's what that is. And then finally, we've got Pro Mouse, which is all of the icons that I use for Pro Mouse. These are sort of, they match basically the icons that you've got in Pro Mouse themselves. I have obviously, because I'm a bit like that, I have gone and created them for specifically the look of whatever application I'm in as well, just because I'm that way inclined. So, for example, here I am in Ecamm, and I've got my Pro Mouse icons color-coded as well to my Ecamm stuff. So that's just because I'm weird like that. Yeah. Let me just have a little catch up with some of these comments. I'm guessing that's the icon template. That is great. It's you can get it there. I've left a link to it in the description as well, although that's actually just a link to the version that I've got on my Dropbox. But and the noun project, let's have a little look. I can't click that. I see it now. I've done a bit of a mistake here. I've done a bit of a mistake. That's not really English, is it? I have made a bit of a mistake because I've got my YouTube chat window open as a separate thing. So I'm just looking in Ecamm here, but I'll check that out. I'm sure it's a valuable resource, whatever that's linking to. No problem. I will hook you with that, of course, Doc. Yeah, it's a bit of a wrench fest today, isn't it? ADR, Apple Design Resource. I got you. Yes, let me have a little look. I'm getting distracted by reading. Let me come back over here, because once you have created some icons, and assuming they all look nice and pretty because you've used the the Apple Design template, if I just come back into here and look into the light table. This is another view, by the way. Got a load of blanks there, but the views, so the general one will be the slide navigator, so where you can see the different slides that you've got down the side. You've also got slide only if you just want to see just the slide only, obviously. But light table is basically where you're seeing all of them as a... it would help if I shared the right thing. There we go. Let me say that again. The views that you've got in Keynote are either the navigator view with the slides down the side, or they are the slide only without the navigator, or you can have light table, which is basically, thanks Rich. I was just ahead with the latency, but yeah, it's terrible that is. I should be looking up here in my little thing to see what's going out more, I suppose. So the light table is basically where you can see all of the different things together. So these are basically the YouTube ones that I've got. These are some emojis. I had an idea to just make a full emoji pack, basically, which is all the emojis. I still haven't got around to just actually exporting these and then bringing them into Stream Deck and mapping them to all of these emojis, but I will do at some point. I think that'll probably just be a free download, to be honest, because it's just emojis at the end of the day. These are the Keynote ones that I've got. So these are for adding in different shapes, for different alignment tools. These are the alignments, or left, right, top, bottom, all that sort of stuff. Sending to the back, sending to the front, grouping. These were the ones that I demonstrated earlier in terms of like combining shapes and so on. Font size, flipping, grouping, and various other different ones. So these are the ones that I tend to use for Keynote. Then down here is all of the Zoom ones. So these cover the built-in Zoom shortcuts that I just mentioned that you get with Stream Deck, but then also all of the other ones. So for example, starting cloud recording, pausing cloud recording, flipping screens on the gallery view, switching between gallery view and the speaker view and all that sort of stuff. And then further down here, these are just a couple of random ones. And then these are all the Ecamm ones that I use. And so, yeah, once you have got a set of icons, though, that you're happy with, the great thing with Keynote, if I just come to this one, Slide Navigator, you may not want to just export all of them, but let's say I wanted to export this batch of slides. I don't want to drag it. This batch of slides here, so let's say 135 to 140. All you do is just go to File, Export to, and then Export to Images. And then from here, you are just going to go from, and then whatever those slide numbers want. I've already, slide numbers were. I've already forgotten them. 135 to 140, let's say. 135 to 140. And then format, PNG is the one that I'm using. And then just click on next. And then it will bring up your little window here where you can choose what to call them. And when you actually give it a name, it's going to give you a name of a folder. So I'm just going to call this icon folder. Let me just see where it's putting it. I'll put it into somewhere over here. Let me have a little look at that one. Export. And so what that's going to do is put it into a folder. Now, if I just bring that folder up. So now we've got that in a folder. And if I change to this view, it's basically a folder just with all of those icons. So basically you give the name that you're giving it is the folder name, and then it will just have this list of all the icons there. They will just be named like this. So icon folder 001, icon folder 002, and so on. But you have essentially just got a folder with all of your icons in ready to go. And then you can so let's have a little look over at Stream Deck. So once you are on Stream Deck, I hope that by now you'll understand this part of the thing. But basically with Stream Deck, you can just basically drag and drop any icon over onto this area. I do still, from time to time, keep trying to drag it onto the actual button itself. Even though I know that that doesn't work, but I do catch myself doing that sometimes. So that is just a little quick live stream on how to create your icons for Stream Deck or Loop Deck, by the way. They work just the same. I've got a feeling the resolution of the Loop Deck is slightly higher. I'm not sure of the exact size. I should have probably found that out before. He says, quickly Googling it, Loop Deck icon resolution. As I say, I think in... oh, it's 80 by 80. Okay. So 80 by 80 for Loop Deck and 72 by 72 for Stream Deck. But as I say, I just make mine always bigger, future-proofing them. So either 500 by 500 or something like that. Or you could just go really massive. And you can do this, obviously, for anything else where you are using icons as well. So it's just an easy way to create them. That is all I'm covering for today, but I shall leave a link to my other Stream Deck content for anybody watching on the replay, and you can check out those videos on the right-hand side when I put it up in a moment. But first of all, thank you to all of you lovely people. The wrench mob is out in force today in the chat, so great to see you all here, and I will get on. I'm really behind by my videos, by the way. I should give an update on my Cedar progress. Yeah, I've not made any apart from my daily live streams. I've not done any for the past 4 days, so I've got even more catching up to do. Yeah, just some other things came up. So yeah, I always like a little bit of a challenge, and it's all the more challenging now. So I will catch you all on the replay. Yeah, anybody watching on the replay though, check out the Stream Deck playlist that's coming up next.